Alright, we are into the picks and bans of Against All Authority versus Copenhagen Wolves. Very standard bans on Lux, Kale, Nidalee, Elise, and likely the last two we can't see. I fully expect it to be Xin, possibly Twisted Fate, or Jarvan, as those seem to be fairly consistently banned across the board. And it looks like we are going to see Against All Authority with first pick. Likely to pick up Xin Zhao. And yeah, he will be picked up right away since he has not been banned yet. He seems like one of the best first picks in the game so far, as he's just really reliable. He deals consistent damage. He's a great threat to any backline champion. But Copenhagen Wolves will respawn picking up Thresh. I don't see any reason for them not to. He's just such a strong champion at the moment that it's really hard for teams to deal with him. He just has the ability to get on those back lines very quickly. And it looks like they might pick up Volibear, who's been played in every single game today. And the European scene has just fallen in love with his ganks. They've used him in different ways, but he's always been very effective. His ganks are really hard to get away from. He synergizes well with any champion that has any small amount of CC. And let's see what Against All Authority decides to pick up here. They have a lot of options open to them, as they basically need everything but their jungler, as Xin Zhao will be in the jungle. He really doesn't have a good place anywhere else, as he doesn't have that escape you need for top lane. And I definitely think that Against Authority will be able to pick up Renekton here, and then go with their AD carry, save support for last, as they really don't need to worry about the support, as they want to see what the AD carry coming out from Copenhagen Wolves is. And that will also leave their mid laner for last, as they really don't want to show that. This one lane that can easily be countered, and it will be Renekton looking for that ability to get into fights with Xin Zhao and really destroy that back line. It's going to be very hard with Thresh, though, as he does get shut down fairly hard by the box, and just Thresh's natural ability to destroy any champion that comes in close to him with just large amounts of CC. Definitely expect to see someone like Singed up top. And I think they're going to be able to pick up their AD carry here. Likely Misfortune or Caitlyn. They could go with something more unique like a Kog'Maw, as I don't think he's banned out, as Kog'Maw's been able to slip through most of these games. But I think Kog'Maw would be a very good choice here. Give them a lot of damage coming from that back line. And teams that don't like to stack magic resistance are going to be in a world of hurt, as Kog'Maw just does a lot of damage. But instead they're going to go with Varus. Looks like they want a bit more initiation. And a very strong laner. Synergizes pretty well with Thresh. It just makes it really hard to get away from them. Varus can set up Thresh's hooks very nicely with his slow. And his ultimate can set it up even better, as that is a very powerful route. And that's a lot of team fight coming out from Copenhagen Wolves. As good luck getting to Varus in the back line through all of that CC and tankiness. And good luck Ezreal not being absolutely zoned out of the fight by Singed and Volibear. Against Authority looks to pick up Oriana and Sona. Oriana, very good choice here. She has two targets she can throw a ball on for maximum effectiveness. And it will allow her to get on the back line of Varus without throwing herself into too much danger, as she can just throw her ultimate on Xin Zhao and work out rather nicely. Sona also with a bit more CC and lane pressure. I expect Copenhagen Wolves to take some kind of assassin here, as there's not a lot of damage coming out from Against All Authority. With Ezreal and being the only real heavy damage dealer, Oriana has a good bit of burst damage and a little bit of sustain. But if you can take Ezreal out of a fight, it's going to be very hard for Oriana to deal enough damage. And I think Sindra would be a good choice. Akali would be a good choice. If Twisted Fate isn't banned, he'd be a good choice as well. All champions that can get to that back line, finish off the AD carry, and then you can slowly whittle down the rest of the team. As Copenhagen Wolves is a bit tankier than Against All Authority here, and it will be a Sindra. People love running Sindra as a blow up the back line champion, and she creates a lot of space with her stun and knockback, as it really just prevents people from getting to the back line. And this is definitely Copenhagen Wolves' chance to put a win on the board here, as I think they picked up a slightly better lineup than against All Authority, but we shall see as the game goes on, as it's anyone's game, really, as neither lineup is particularly bad. I just think Copenhagen Wolves has picked up a slightly stronger lineup. I definitely expect them to want to play straight up against Ezreal and Sona, not lane swapping, as they're going to have a pretty big advantage in that lane, as they do have the healing reduction of Varus. They have Thresh, who can really get in there and punish Sona and Ezreal if they get caught out. And I think that's definitely what they're going to want to do. They're going to snowball the bottom lane, basically force the jungler to sit down bottom and help them out, and then go around the map and apply pressure. As that seems to be what the name of the game is in the meta at the moment, is apply pressure to as many spots around the map as you can, force your enemy to group up with +1, and then push out the side lanes, maximizing your farm. It's really just a very good idea from Copenhagen Wolves if they can pull it off. And I'm not sure exactly how against Authority is going to be able to initiate these team fights very well, outside of just having Xin Zhao or Renekton run in. But even if you do that, Sindra could knock them back. They have Thresh who could knock them back or prevent them from getting deep. And it's going to be very hard for against Authority to actually take a team fight unless they just want to try and split push. But split pushing against the Singed is not exactly the easiest thing to do in the world. It's going to be a very interesting game coming out from both of these teams. And I definitely think it's going to come down to this bottom lane. If Ezreal and Sona can survive and keep up with Varus and Thresh, they're going to have a good chance of snowballing the mid game. But if they get behind, they're going to be in a world of trouble, and I don't think they're going to be even able to stay alive near their tower, as they're just going to bring a lot of burst damage. And it's going to be a really good bottom lane for Copenhagen. Looks like Copenhagen is going to be trying a gank, as Renekton will likely come up here and check this bush fairly early on, and with the 2 knockbacks, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. He is protecting the blue buff very well. Thresh is going to be running around up top, and will be able to get into position, as it looks like against Authority we'll be having Ezreal in that bottom lane. Renekton does not actually check it, and he is going to be able to see them if he continues to stay here. They're going to wait till about 30 seconds, and then start going towards that blue buff. No teleports on either side of the map, so whoever goes down bottom is going to be kind of stuck there. Just waiting for Copenhagen to make that move. They're going to be going in about 5 seconds now, right at the 30 mark. As it looks like we are going to have someone rotating down bottom. Can't exactly see who it is in all of that mess. And Renekton is now down there. 35 means go time. And they are going to be able to rush right into that blue buff while the bottom lane is taking. It looks like they are going to lane swap it up with Singe down bottom. And yeah, this is going to be a dead Renekton if he decides to come that way. No chance of him surviving. He's already picked up Call the Meek. And there we go, dead Renekton. First blood, picked up by Varus, and they're going to be able to steal the blue buff. Perfectly played there by Copenhagen. That's something that you can really do unless you place the deep wards. And with a ward on their own blue buff, they knew there was not going to be any problems, because they weren't going to go steal it. And with this, that means Renekton's going to be in a lot of trouble, and Copenhagen's already off to a great start. They're going to be able to pick up all the CS up here as the minions actually split damage very nicely, instead of focusing like they do sometimes, which means Varus got all 3 minions, didn't miss out on a bit. Sona's going to be able to throw a pink ward up near the blue buff, and Xin Zhao's not going to be out the blue buff, as he really does need it for his early jungle. He just burns through mana really quickly. But they get the blue buff steal, and they get first blood. That's a pretty big win for Copenhagen, and they're going to have a better time down bottom, as I think Singed is just a little better off 2v1ing than Renekton, just due to the fact he has that poison that he can throw out at a pretty good distance, and then have the minions kind of run into it. Singed wisely picking up a few wards, so he did get that ward in the back that does spot Xin Zhao out. Singed already up to 4 minions at this point, as when Sona left, he had the opportunity to go push the wave just a little bit and get a lot of experience from that, hitting that early level 2, which you desperately need on your bottom lane, and it's very hard to do so when you have a strong poke lineup like this. But yeah, Singed will be able to throw the poison out, get a few minions, and you can't really attack him very much on the tower, but a nice move there to fling Ezreal in, and apply a lot of damage to him. He doesn't have that much to stand. He only has a Doran's Blade. Looks like we are going to see Volibear coming up top, but he's not going to be able to get on Renekton as he does slice and dice away. He did actually spot him out with a nice ward, and that's going to be a lot of damage going to this tower. I don't foresee Against All Authority wanting to actually fight this, as we do see Varus throw out a nice hit there, hitting 2. Thresh throwing the hook out, but no such luck of landing, as they really want to be able to clear this wave. But a nice poke there by Thresh, just keeping the jungler up top, forcing him to stay there so that he doesn't get all the farm he needs. He's going to be able to find his blue buff not actually taken already, as it does still have the little minion there. And when you have the little minion there, it's really annoying because you can't just take it. You can't just wait for it to respawn, because you know about when they took it. Usually right at about the 2-minute mark, give or take, depending upon how many people they thought stayed. But that's just one of those things. In the mid lane, we do see Sindra taking a lot of damage, but she is okay thanks to a nice stun. She does have great potential to turn ganks around, as her stun and knockback are on a very low cooldown. And she can just use those consistently to push people back and force a bad engagement. She has decided to go with the Tear of the Goddess, likely going to bring that into the Archangel's staff later. She could bring up PanderNyrl as well, as it looks like we are going to have Varus and Thresh very close to taking down that tower. Need just 2 or 3 hits, as they don't have that much attack damage this early game. Volibear coming down bottom, as they do spot out Xin Zhao with that ward in the brush. And yeah, this is going to be the first tower of the game taken by Copenhagen Wolves. A much needed tower. They're going to let the minions finish it off, as Varus just goes ahead and continues to farm. Perfectly even on CS for the carries, and blue buff still hasn't been cleared yet. I think Against Authority just doesn't want to clear it yet, just to kind of make sure they get it, as they didn't have a timer on it the first time. Looks like we are going to have different choices from the middle laners, as Oriana has picked up that chalice, and we do have the Tear of the Goddess up onto Sindra. Singe getting a lot more farm here than Renekton, as Renekton has opted for the Duran's Blade. Not sure that's the best decision at this point, as you're not going to get enough minion kills to actually heal, but he needed something. I think a Cloth Arm would have been a much better choice, as he could have prevented a fair amount of damage coming out from both Varus and Thresh, in addition to a little bit of damage from Singed. Right now, mid laners are fairly even, as we continue to watch them. Singed is stacking up that tier very well, looking to go into the Archangels later, and it provides him just so much health, as he does get health for every point of mana he has. Ezreal has not gone back to buy yet. Varus has decided to pick up that BF sword. Xin Zhao is spotted out, as they do have that ward near Wolves. It does spot any rotation, and it looks like we are going to see the Against All Authority side rushing down, trying to get a gank down bottom, but it will be spotted out as Volibear just runs in there and is being really annoying this game, just making sure that Against All Authority doesn't have an opportunity to engage. He's placed several nice wards around the map, and he's looking to try and get a gank here on Oriana, but Oriana does spot him out with a rather well-placed ward in those brushes near mid lane. Sindra trying to land a stun, but won't be in range. Stun does actually land. Nice combo. She does throw the ultimate out, and that will be a kill. And you know the shield comes up from Oriana at the last second to save her, but she's going to be out of lane for a while. Volibear doing some good damage to Renekton, as Renekton does hit 6 just in time and throws down the Ignite on Volibear. Singe going to be able to do a good bit of damage to Renekton when he gets back in lane. Just looking to make sure Renekton never gets enough farm, as he needs a lot of farm to stay useful in the late game. He's much more about winning the lane, winning that early game battle. Volibear going to be caught out here by Renekton, but I think he wisely backs up. Yeah, he realizes something was funky when Renekton was not attacking the creep wave like that. And we are going to see a lot of damage exchanged up top, as Renekton is going to get a bit of free farm, considering Singe is just not in the healthy spot at the moment. Thresh jumps forward and deals a good bit of damage to Ezreal, but Varus is not able to return the damage. And Thresh is in a little bit of trouble as Ezreal just continues to jump on him. Ezreal is faster at this point. Thresh not able to dodge anything, as Ezreal just auto-attacked and applied a bit of pressure. He is down significantly in minions at this point, but there is a lot of minions just kind of sitting around near this tower that he's going to be able to pick up and catch right back up. Sindra up about 10 minions now, after that failed kill in the mid lane, but that's a lot of damage going on to Ezreal at this point, and he's going to have a lot of problems in that bottom lane. Though Xin Zhao is going to come help him out, Sindra is going to be able to pick up the blue buff, And it looks like Volibear is going to come down bottom and counter gank. There is not a ward that's going to be able to spot him out, as that bottom lane is virtually wardless for the side of Against All Authority. They really need to just get a ward up somewhere near Dragon to help them out. But it looks like Volibear is going to run all the way down bottom. Ezreal not going to be in the area anytime soon. And if they can push this, they're going to easily take this bottom tower with Volibear. If Thresh lands a good hook as well, they can easily pull him in for a few moments, then have Volibear fling him back for maximum damage. But he's going to come out here, and they're just going to take the tower. With Ezreal not in a position, it looks like Thresh is going to throw out, but no such luck hitting. That hook very close, but not on time. It's very easy to dodge when you can see it. It's one of those abilities, kind of like the Blitzcrank hook. If you can see it, you can dodge it. But if you can't see it, good luck. Just kind of start praying, as it's really easy to hit when you're in the brushes and can't be seen. Xin Zhao still going forward as Thresh does knock him back. Good choice by him, as they really don't want to engage with Xin Zhao this close. And so far we have about 1,000 gold lead for Copenhagen after taking first blood, and are just farming a little better throughout the map, with the exception of the jungle. Looks like Varus in a lot of troubles. The box does go up, doing a good bit of damage. Nice ultimate there by Sona means this Varus is going to go down. And a nice kill, which means it's only 1,000 gold lead now, where it was a little more so, thanks to that tower in first blood. And that provides Ezreal a lot of space to actually farm, as he has decided to pick up the BF sword and boots. Mid lane is going to take a lot of damage, as Oriana really can't go in there. Sindra has enough burst to take her out with her ultimate, as she's constantly pushing the creep wave back with the orbs, which means the orbs will be available for her ultimate. Ezreal does take that tower down bottom, evening up the gold, as we do see Sindra and Renekton duking it out up top. Renekton going for a very tanky build. Sindra just still applying a lot of pressure to this tower, and is able to apply pressure to Oriana with those orbs from a long distance away. She's just a very strong champion in the laning stage, and killing those high priority targets with her ultimate. She's done just a great job of doing so, and I really like to see more of her play. She's just a fun champion to watch, especially once she gets her ultimate going and can land a good stun. Ezreal ultimate flies, but no such luck landing, though it does give a nice scout out of the middle lane and prevent that tower from being taken. Looks like we are going to have Singe doing some good damage to Renekton top, but Renekton can just pop his ultimate and he should be okay. Though the Singe poison trail being a real nuisance, as it's just consistently damaging Renekton. And we are going to see a fling into a Volibear fling, but Singe is very low and he might go down here. Sona in the area as well, but Renekton is able to jump away. And with the exhaust, no kills are exchanged. Though we have Sindra in the area, but she's going to be able to do a good bit of damage. Ultimate does fly, but the Oriana ball misses thanks to a flash. And it will be Xin Zhao taking the fall. Sona likely to fall as well. Oriana could get a decent ultimate off here, but no. It is not that luck. And we are going to have Volibear trying to get onto Oriana, but he's going to go down here. Though that passive is really powerful, he does flash over the wall, and it's actually going to be safe as there's no one able to catch up. Ezreal is out of mana, so he cannot arcane shift over the wall. Oriana's still going to be going for him. We'll see if he can actually land it. Volibear going back, but yeah, he's dead at this point. He's going to try to pick up Ezreal, and he will not be able to do so, as the Oriana shield provides him just enough to stay alive, in addition to barrier. But trading 2 for 1, a very good exchange there for Copenhagen Wolves, and it means this bottom tower is going to go down. Varus got even more farm, and that's just a very good exchange overall, as we do see this bottom tower now going down. And a 1,500 gold lead picked up by Copenhagen. Such a good decision there to just continue fighting, even if you were going to lose someone. And even if you traded 2 for 2, it'd be a pretty big win in that fight, thanks to the fact Varus was getting farmed down bottom, while Renekton was nowhere near that until after it had already been taken out. Looks like we are going to see both teams vying for Dragon at this point, as we do see Sindra in a lot of trouble, and she will go down here, but she does land a decent stun, but is taken out thanks to a good Oriana ultimate and Xin Zhao gank, which means a free Dragon for Against All Authorities. They have all 5 members in the bottom half of the map, and that should even up the game right at about 18,000 gold. Singe is going to continue split pushing up top, as we do see Oriana trying to go back in the mid lane. There's no real way to contest this from Copenhagen. They really need Sindra at this point. And yeah, we are perfectly even right now, as Volibear continues to roam around the map, and Sin doing his thing of split pushing. He's going to be very annoying in a few moments as he picks up his Royal Ice Crystal Scepter. And I think that's going to be a real key item on Singed. As soon as he picks that up, and likely a piece of armor afterwards, there's not going to be a good way to kill him, and there's not going to be a good way to deal with him on the side of Against All Authority. Most of their CC is going to be focused on getting to the back line. Well, pretty much all of the crowd control is going to be focused on the front line of Against All Authority. As Copenhagen Wolves has enough CC to go around, they have Sindra with some good AoE CC, Thresh with a lot of area crowd control, Varus with even more, and the single target CCs will all be focused on Against All Authority's backline. Well, Against All Authority is going to have to throw all their CC towards the backline, with the exception of Sona Ultimate, which is an ultimate, and it's not going to be that effective at stopping Singed, who already has very high tenacity from his ultimate, and has great damage reduction just naturally from his high health pool of the tier, and the Ninja Tab by preventing damage from auto attacks. Renekton has decided to pick up the Hex Drinker, looking to not be burst down again or harassed down by a Singed, and even prevents a good bit of damage from Varus, who is the high farmer in the game, sending 145 minions killed. He is about even with Ezreal, as Ezreal's picked up an additional kill. And it looks like he is going for the Infinity Edge, as Ezreal has gone for the Infinity Edge as well. But they usually go for Bloodthirsters, but instead they're going to go for Infinity Edge, which I really think is a good choice here, as it means a whole lot of damage coming out from those AD carries. And there's not a whole lot of damage coming out from other sources. Thresh throwing out the hook, but missing, as neither team has a whole lot of damage outside of their AD carries and AP carries. They have a fair amount, but it's not the big damage you need to take down someone like a Singed or a Volibear or even a Renekton, as they're very tanky champions that just don't go down unless you have a big damage source hitting them. Volibear getting a little dance on, as he just kind of taunts this mid lane. Singed is going to continue split pushing, and I don't think Against All Authority can do a whole lot about this. His tower is going to go down. They don't have Ezreal in the area, and I think Copenhagen Wolves recognizes that, as you do see him push down, but we do have his ultimate flying through and killing off the minion wave. Varus taking a lot of damage, and this is a good win for Against All Authority if they can continue to hold this tower, and it looks like they are going to, as Varus is going to be forced down bottom to pick up this rather large creep wave. Looks like Sindra is out farming Oriana fairly heavily, as Varus is going to be up ahead of Ezreal pretty significantly as soon as he picks up that large creep wave that's down bottom. Renekton up a little bit onto Singed, as Xin Zhao is crushing Volibear in the jungle in terms of farm, and they're even on kills and assists. Though I don't think Volibear needs as many items as Xin Zhao. Xin Zhao really needs that damage item to propel him over the top, while Volibear just needs to be tanky this game. And I think he's going to, as both of the other junglers are going for that early lock into the Iron Solari. And yeah, 500 gold lead on Xin Zhao over Volibear. Everywhere else, it's virtually even around the map, with the exception of mid lanes, where we see about 700 or 800 gold lead with Sindra over Oriana. Sindra going to lose his mid tower, as Volibear does come in, and it looks like Sindra is going to take a lot of damage up top, but he does have his ultimate going Ghost and the Ignite. So he is going to be perfectly safe, but he's going to be in a lot of trouble, as Renekton's going to do a good bit of damage to his tower the next time the creep wave comes up. And with Renekton winning these trades, it's going to be hard for Singed to continue to split push, because if you really want Singed to attract multiple people every time you split push. Looks like we are going to have Copenhagen grouping up in the mid lane and pushing down this tower. They could have had it earlier, but with Ezreal going all the way down bottom, it's going to be very hard to do so. Sindra doing a lot of damage. We do see Sona pulled forward, but no damage to follow up, as Oriana's shield does prevent a lot of that burst. Though Sindra does come forward, and Sona will not die, as the shield from Oriana is just too much. It's a lot of damage to prevent. Xin Zhao going forward, but a nice Oriana ultimate hits a few. But we do see Varus on the sideline getting taken out very quickly, and a good fight here by Against All Authorities. They will be able to pick up two. Just not enough damage coming in from Copenhagen, as they just didn't have Singed there. And Varus just kind of got caught to the side. He was exhausted right away. Thresh got his box off, but that was just a nice ultimate by Oriana setting that up. And Varus got caught off a little too much to the side. So they will be able to lose a tower. Though we do have Singed in the area, and he's going to be a pretty big threat if he actually decides to go in. Sindra doing a lot of damage, but she is in a lot of trouble. She does get taken out here Oriana ultimate will make, Oriana slow buff will make sure that. And this is definitely against all authorities' game to lose at this point, as they just showed us they have great teamfight potential, and they can really do something when they catch Varus, as there was no damage coming out of anywhere else on Copenhagen Wolves. As we do see the ult from Sindra still down from burning it on Sona, and that really hurt them in the fight, as when you use your ultimate on Sindra, you really need to pick up the kill, or at least really mess up the enemy team. And she can still do that. If she throws her ultimate on Ezreal, Oriana will have to throw her ball over there, and it won't be on someone more important like Xin Zhao or Renekton, where she can easily set herself up. Varus heading back down bottom to farm. Likely going for that Phantom Dancer next. Could be going for Static Ship, but it'll be definitely a Zeal built item. Dragon has now respawned, as we are going to see both sides jockeying for it. Though it looks like Against All Authority is there right away with that pink ward. And without any vision, it's going to be a very hard fight for Copenhagen to take. Against All Authority starting it already and getting some very good procs on that Madrid's Razor, which means it will go down before the fight even begins. Though the question is, will they be able to pick up anything off of it? Nice ultimate by Varus means that we are going to have a beautiful ultimate by Oriana, but she does go down. Trading 1 for 1. We do get a stun onto Xin Zhao, but I don't think they're going to be able to pursue. Volibear is just not at high enough health. Great ultimate by Oriana, but there was just no follow-up. And a trade that I think Against Authority will take again and again. Trading Dragon for just 1 kill, and the top lane is pushing very heavily. Definitely something they do. As it looks like we're going to see Oriana picking up a Haunting Guise very soon, in addition to the Needlessly Large Rod. Looks like we are going to have a Bloodthirster coming up from Ezreal after the Infinity Edge. Interesting choice. As we do see Singe actually stopping Renekton from going back. Renekton really wants to go back and pick his next set of items. As Singe has popped his ultimate and is in pretty good shape against Renekton here, as he will just heal up a little bit more, though he did burn his Ignite. Kind of surprised about that. Copenhagen Wolves will pick up that middle tower. As we do see Singe going for that Karalius Crystal Scepter and a bit of extra armor on top of it, as he really needs to survive Renekton up top, and he can't be bullied around by him. Volibear and Xin Zhao both completing that Lock of the Iron Solari, as we do see them likely going to be going for the Aegis of the Legion afterwards. They just need that extra tank item to really be effective. Sindra likely to finish off her Archangel's staff fairly soon, as she's been spamming abilities all game long. She has picked up a Haunting Guise, likely to turn that into Leandries, as it's such a good item on Sindra, as it can proc the single target effect on her Q if it only hits one person. And it's really a good item at zoning people, as she has some of the greatest harassment in the game. Especially if she can land it on 2 or 3 people, she can really punish teams under tower. Zeal picked up by Varus, as he's going likely for the Infinity Edge. Sindra looking to make something happen in the mid lane, but I don't think she's going to get the opportunity, as her stun just a little short. Singed coming in, and it's looking like it's going to be a 5-man fight. And Copenhagen definitely wanting to 5-man fight, it looks like. Thresh sitting out to the side, and will he be able to find someone with his hook? If he can find a good hook, this will be a quick fight for Copenhagen. If they don't, it's going to be hard. Thresh throws that out, but no such luck landing, as it looks like they are going to be converged upon, and we do see the Varus ultimate fly, but a beautiful Sona ultimate. Nice box there. Catches 4, but it will be Thresh going down with no exchange. Ezreal actually able to take down Varus thanks to some very lucky procs on his Infinity Edge. And ouch, that hurts, as your AD carry and support were lost for virtually nothing. And this Ezreal is getting out of control at this point. He's 3-0-4, and a really ridiculous score. He's going for a very greedy build. Looks like Singed is going to pick up that Rylai's and stop this push, as they really don't want to push into that tanky front line. But that was just a mistake by Copenhagen, and they really need to recover from that. They've made just a lot of little mistakes in all of their games that have cost them. It's not like they're that much worse than any of these teams, but just 1 or 2 of those little mistakes, and it snowballs into something big. And it looks like Sindra will be getting onto Ezreal, but no, she decides not to go in on it. Ezreal just a little too tanky for her. She probably could have blown him up at this point, but I think she wants to pick up that next item to assure she can do so. And I almost think it would have been worth it to flash, ignite, pop your ultimate, as that would have been a whole lot of damage going to Ezreal. Ezreal's still down here fighting. Sindra doesn't have that many orbs here, as she does throw it out, but not able to land the stun, as she is just doing a lot of damage to minions at this point. If she'd landed that stun, she definitely would have gone for it. She saw how close Ezreal was to death. Even though he is at pretty high health, Syndra's burst damage on a single target is pretty ridiculous. And they're really going to need that in these fights to take down Ezreal. If Copenhagen Wolves can take down Ezreal, this will be a pretty easy fight for them. But it's looking harder and harder as he has finished that Bloodthirster, about to complete his Zeal. And he's just going to be a real monster in this late game, as he's a full item up on Varus. That's something you really can't afford to have happen if your AD carry is down this hard. Renekton looking to pick up a Warmongs as he has completed a Brutalizer, getting some damage for that backline. Aegis of the Legion up onto Xin Zhao. Volibear looking to go for a Warmongs instead of helping his team out, as Thresh will likely be picking up that next. We do see Sona going for the Chalice, likely to pick up the Crucible, just to provide Ezreal with a bit more survivability. Gives him an extra heal, and the CC cleanse is incredibly important, especially if he gets hit by a Varus ultimate or a Sindra stun. Looks like we are going to have death caps coming out on both of the AP carries at the moment, deciding not to go for Landry's early, instead waiting for it till late game with that Haunting Guise picked up. And both teams are going to be vying for Dragon, which will be up in about 35 seconds, as they are going to try and push this bottom lane, try and pick a kill up, because at this point, death timers are in the 30-second range. So if you do get someone killed, they're not going to be alive for the Dragon fight that follows. And with their entire team down bottom, with the exception of Renekton, this is going to be a dead tower. And it's snowballed to about a 3,000 gold lead for Against All Authority. They will be able to take the blue buff here as well. A big blow to Copenhagen if they want to try and actually poke before the fight begins. Dragon about to respawn in right about now. There's a nice bait coming here from Against All Authority. Usually you see this around Baron, but instead they're going to do it right around Dragon. And Volibear is going to fall for it as he gets jump on in. Ooh, nice flash, baiting out all those ultimates. He's still likely to go down, but no Thresh Lantern there to save him. Excellent play there by Volibear, and a little bit of luck too, not getting the Oriana ultimate, which would have knocked him pretty far back. But Against All Authority's happy with that trade, extending their lead and taking Dragon. Ezreal is going to be in the area to just apply a lot of poke to his Volibear. He doesn't have that much armor at this point. He is fairly tanky, but he really needs that Warden's Mail, and I think Singe is going for Warden's Mail, Randuin's Omen, which I think is the correct decision here. Ezreal is the real big threat. Sindra throwing out the ball, but no, it's not in time, as the stun does not land, and it looks like Copenhagen really wanting to group up and apply some pressure. The ball landing, and there's a nice hook by Thresh as he does jump in there. Beautiful flash away by Oriana, but she will be taken out. And it looks like we are going to see Ezreal ultimate fly, but Xin Zhao not long for this world. But they decided to back up. They don't want to deal with Ezreal at this point. They think Ezreal is just a little too strong. Thresh with another hook, but it does not land. Looks like Sindra does get the slow. No, it does not actually land. It was close, as Xin Zhao was just out of range. Ezreal might get caught here, but he does get hit by the stun. There is no follow-up, as Copenhagen just feels they're a little too far down to deal with Ezreal at this point. Ezreal getting really kind of ballsy, as he does get hit with a slow by Singed. And Thresh is looking for a line. Without these minions, he's going to have an opportunity to throw the hook out there. If he can land the hook, this will be the fight that Copenhagen wants. But if he can't, they really can't deal with Ezreal at this point. They need the Randuin's Omen or Frozen Heart on Singed to just stop Ezreal from doing a lot of damage to his team. And overall, not a terrible fight as you see Ezreal ultimate fly, but not in range, as Sindra just dodging it. Volibear dodging it as well, but I don't think he would have been killed either way. And a good fight there by Copenhagen. They're still down about 4,000 gold, but you pick up an extra kill, you buy yourself a lot of time, and it looks like we are going to see Against Authority going for Baron right away. Thresh in the area, as he could easily throw a hook across the wall and make his presence known. He needs to throw it onto Ezreal at this point, as Ezreal does get knocked up by Baron, and we do see Varus coming in. Not a good fight for Copenhagen, as they're fairly split. Though Singe running in the mid lane, and he does get knocked back, and he's going to be taken down very quickly before the fight begins. And Baron taken by Xin Zhao. Perfect fight there by Against Authority. Take down the one major threat to your back line, and grab Baron. Just not a good decision by Copenhagen to go in there. You have to give up the Baron at that point. You're completely out of position. And that's just what happens when you stay a little too long in that mid lane. If they would have backed up a few seconds earlier, they might have been able to contest that Baron, but they didn't. Renekton has completed a Kindle Gem and a Black Cleaver. Xin Zhao looks to be going for a ShLaYa's Reverie, or just another Kindle Gem. Oriana soon to complete her Death Cap, and looks like a Rylai's with all of that kind of pieces to everything. Ezreal, not sure what he's going to be picking up next. He has completed the Berserker's Greaves. Could go into a Phantom Dancer or Static Shiv, which I think would be the best decision here. Sona picking up the Kindle Gem and Chalice, likely to turn that into a Crucible very soon. Singed with the Ward of Mail means he's going to be very tanky in this next fight. We do have Volibear picking up the Giant's Belt, soon to be a Warmong's. Death Cap completed up on Sindra. Static Shiv finished up by Varus. And we're going to have an Aegis of the Legion soon up onto Thresh. About a 6,000 gold lead here for Against All Authority, as they're even in towers, but have taken a lot more map objectives, and have just done a very good job. Volibear getting close, but a flash by Sona means she's going to be perfectly safe. And we are going to have a Zhonya's Hourglass up onto Oriana. Interesting choice there. Varus throwing out a bit of damage, but just not able to do enough at this point, as he's still a full item behind Ezreal, as Ezreal has completed that Phantom Dancer, meaning he's going to be doing a ton of damage. And it looks like they're just going to rotate top. Smart move by Against All Authority here. Send Ezreal top, take out that tower. No way it's going to be contested. Get the free gold and enjoy the extra gold lead. And Against All Authority can basically win a 4v5 fight if they take it on their terms. And it looks like they are going to actually be engaged on, as Sona's going to be going down here. Nice ultimate by Sona, stops anyone else from dying, as it prevents the rest of her team from being caught out. But just losing Sona, not a big deal, as you take a tower, likely to take 2 towers, as Ezreal's gotten kind of ballsy at this point, and he's going to be just pushing it. No, he decides against it. It's going to be taken low, but it's not going to actually be killed off. Renekton caught, as he is not slowed. The Oriana speed buff getting him out just in time, along with the slice of his slice and dice. It looks like it is going to be the blue buff taken by Sindra. And so far, an excellent engagement, but it looks like we are going to see Against All Authority coming out here again, as she does pick up the blue buff, throw it a long distance away, and take it, so there's no chance of it being stolen. Good decision, as they were trying to pick it up on Against All Authority. But I almost think they should have baited it out a little more and gone for the fight, as it would have been a 4v5. Sona ultimate's down. Sona's not even in the fight. And Sona's been a big part of these fights. And she's landed some very clutch ultimates. Same thing with Oriana. Those ultimates have been absolutely critical in all those fights. So we take a quick gold lead here. The big difference is Ezreal's up about 2,000 gold on Varus. Everybody else is fairly close to their counterparts. But that is the real big difference, and that's why these team fights have been going in Against All Authority's favor. Ezreal's been basically left untouched on the back lines, and has just jumped in and completely shredded everyone. Ezreal going to continue to split push at this point. He's had the opportunity to split push every single game, as there's been no real champion that can stop him at this point. Syndra's about the only one that can do so, as she has the damage to fight with him if she can get a few orbs out, and if she can continuously get a good ultimate out. But it looks like Dragon will respawn. Both sides going for it, and it will be a 5v5 engagement should one team try and take it. Ward is actually not seen there by Against All Authority. Considering how close they are, there's just a little bit of wall blocking it off. Looks like Singe going to be in the front lines, just being a nuisance at this point, as we do see Xin Zhao trying to get in there, but he is slowed. He's not taking a whole lot of damage, and it will be a free dragon for Against All Authority, but there is going to be a fight afterwards, as Singe does get in there, lands a nice slow, but they aren't going to press up on it, as they really just didn't want to take that fight. Xin Zhao going to be coming forward really fast, but not able to get there on Sindra. And that's another objective taken by Against All Authority, up 7,000 gold, and continuing just to nickel and dime Copenhagen out of gold, as they've snowballed all the lanes fairly well. They picked up all the objectives they need, and they're just getting a little bit more farm on that Ezreal. And that's really the difference in these fights. Sindra looking to apply a bit of pressure to this mid lane. And she will not actually go for the stun. If she lands a good stun, they can actually do something. But Thresh going to be able to throw his hook out? No. He decides against it. I think he could have thrown his hook out on Xin Zhao, and they could have bursted him down before the fight really started. He's not that tanky at this point. As soon as he finishes his Warmongs, he will be. But he really needs that little bit of extra tankiness to prevent the burst from Sindra from absolutely dominating him. Looks like Copenhagen is going to be grouping up in the mid lane. And it is going to be a 5v4 fight as Ezreal is down bottom. He's not going to be able to actually defend. Thresh throwing out his lantern, but no such luck as we do see Renekton jumping in the fight. And Copenhagen not wanting to take a 4v5 fight. I kind of agree with him at this point because Ezreal would have been untouched at that point. And you really need to kill Ezreal off. Nice slows there prevent Xin Zhao from aggressing. And I think Sindra is going to do a good job of preventing any fights that Copenhagen don't want to have happen from happening outside of pickoffs in the jungle, because those multiple layers of slow are just incredibly useful at counter engaging and really stopping the enemy team from wanting to go on you, as the back line will get hit with a few slows and you'll really just get a big separation between the front and back line, which is not what you want in a team fight. You want them to be fairly close to each other so that they can protect both sides, as the back line will protect the front line with damage and killing off the big threats, and the front line will prevent the back line from getting taken out by crowd controlling the heavily aggressive champions. Baron has now respawned, and it looks like that's going to be the next fight. We do see a ward down there. The thing is, will it be up? No, they will not actually see it being started or spawned on the side of Copenhagen Wolves, but they have to suspect it's going to be up, as they likely timed it and they're going to be in the area. They see Renekton and Ezreal, and there is not going to be a Baron done without Ezreal, just due to his damage, and it looks like we are going to see Gensel Authority running for it and likely trying to bait it out. There is not a ward here, and will they actually start it is the question. I don't think they want to. I think they're going to wrap around. Yeah, it looks like that's what we're going to do, but they do place a ward in there at just the right time, and it looks like they aren't going to be able to wrap around, as we do see Varus out in a very aggressive spot. He could be caught out here, as we do see Baron getting a little bit aggressive, as he has been aggroed by Sindra, and Sindra can just continually aggro him and apply a little bit of damage, which is what they really need. If Gensel Authority isn't at fighting shape, if they're at about 80% health, they're not going to win the fight, because these fights have all been very close, but they've just had Ezreal protected the entire time, and that's been the difference. No oracles or pink wards up for Copenhagen, so they're going to be fighting in the dark here. As Sindra does scout out, nice Oriana ultimate, hits 2. Sindra taken out of the fight, but we do see Singe in a lot of trouble up front. We are going to have Volibear going down as he does pop the locket, and that's going to be a big win for Against All Authority. No chance for Copenhagen, as that was a beautiful Oriana ultimate. They were just spotted out. 2 dead and 2 important champions dead, as Volibear brings a good bit of damage and crowd control, while Varus is pretty much the entirety of the damage for Copenhagen. And Ezreal's not even going to join them for Baron until after trying and checking for red buff. And he might not even join him at all if he doesn't feel like it. He's done his job of just destroying the enemy team in every fight. He has picked up a Last Whisper. Same with Varus. But it's just not enough. Those Oriana ultimates have been absolutely spot on all game long, and it's been a real treat to see how well they've landed. And yeah, there's the big difference. 4,000 gold up by Ezreal. Everyone else is about 1,000 gold up on Against All Authority. And it's just been a really good game by Against All Authority. Snowballing the mid game so incredibly well. Copenhagen just hasn't had the coordination to team fight properly. And they've just let a lot of small objectives go, when they should have either contested them or at least applied some pressure in exchange for the objective. And those little mistakes really cost you. And that's what we've seen so far. Singe Poison not going to do a whole lot anymore, as they have the Baron buff. It'll basically negate the damage of Singe Poison. And it looks like Singed is going for that Liandry's Torment, going for a super late game build. He has completed that Randuin's Omen just to slow the attack speed of Ezreal down. But I'm not sure it's going to be enough in these fights, as Ezreal has picked up a Quicksilver Sash now, and there's no real stopping him at this point. We do have several Lockets of the Iron Solari picked up along with Warmonks on Against All Authority side, as we do see them continually pushing. Nice hook in there by Thresh, but there's a big initiation as the Sona ultimate hits 4, and we are going to see them continually engaging. Sindra and Ezreal is out. Without Ezreal in this fight, Against All Authority doesn't have the damage. Singe can just run around and do whatever he so pleases. And that's what he's doing at this point in time. They are going to be able to pick up Sona, likely Xin Zhao as well. But yeah, they're going to be able to pick him up. And that's exactly what Copenhagen needed. Kill Ezreal. These fights are pretty easy. Xin Zhao jumping in there, but the box is placed, and Xin Zhao will not be able to get to Varus. The box doing just enough damage, but Volibear does go down. Xin Zhao going down as well, but Varus is going to be taken out. They just stayed a little too long. And the Power Baron buff healed everyone up. And that's just Against All Authority's gold lead showing. If they didn't have that gold lead, and if it were even, that would have been a huge win for Copenhagen. But instead, Against All Authority takes that fight pretty closely, as Thresh was the only one to live. It was a great Thresh hook. It pulled in Ezreal, but it was not enough. Runic Bulwark now complete by Thresh, as I'm curious to see what Ezreal is going to go for next. Probably another Phantom Dancer instead of Boots, maybe. Or a Trinity Force instead of Boots. But I think he needs to replace them with something, as he's basically farmed out at this point. Sitting at 360 CS at the 40-minute mark. 5-1-5. And that was his only mistake of the game so far. And it really didn't cost him anything, as his team managed to pick him up and avenge him at the end of the day. Sindra has completed that Leandri's Torment in addition to a Void Staff. Still not finishing off that Archangels, which I'm kind of surprised about. Volibear picking up more armor, likely to finish off Warmongs. Singe still looking for that Leandri's Torment to get some extra damage in these team fights. Renekton getting the last Whisper after picking up the Black Cleaver, Spirit Vestige, and Warmongs. Likely going for to finish off his Maul Malmortius next. Xin Zhao about to finish up the Runic Bulwark as he has completed the Warmongs and a casual Negatron Cloak. Ezreal doing a lot of damage to Varus here, as Varus is taking half health in 2 hits. And this Varus can't take much more of that. The rest of Against All Authority running up top, as they are going to be able to apply a lot of pressure to this inhibitor tower. Singe not in the area, as he was pushing the bottom lane fairly heavily. Though he will be able to get back there fairly quickly, and its tower is going down fast. Nice stun there on 2, as we do see Volibear getting a nice knockback onto Xin Zhao, but it is not enough, as he's just a little too tanky at this point. Singed in the area, applying a bit more damage. Thresh not able to land the hook, as his hooks have been not on this game. Nice hook there on Ezreal, and a beautiful team fight, but an Oriana ultimate that's absolutely epic, hitting 5. Singe still running through the team and will be able to escape here, but no, he is not. He's finished off by Oriana, and that was an Oriana ultimate for the ages. Perfectly placed 5-man Oriana ultimate, and nothing that Copenhagen can do when you get that beautiful of an ultimate. It was a nice hook by Thresh. It meant Ezreal died, but everyone on Copenhagen just jumped on Ezreal and didn't care for their own safety. And that was just kind of depressing, as they should have won that fight, picking Ezreal off that quickly. But no, it was turned around. And we do see the Mercury Skimmer picked up by Ezreal. And yeah, we are going to have a... No, we're not going to actually have an engagement. Xin Zhao was looking to engage. Sindra could have baited him a little more, but there was a ward there that actually spotted the rest of Copenhagen out. And they are just down a little bit too much here, as they're down 14,000 gold. And there is a Rylai's Crystal Scepter and Leandri's Torment now picked up by Oriana. Singed, able to finish off the Haunting guys, but still not in position to pick up anything else. Volibear still a little off his Warmongs, as we're likely going to see the Archangels finally finished up onto Sindra. Varus has picked up a Bloodthirster now, so he's almost even with Ezreal. He's down 1 major item still, but it's not as bad as it was, as he basically evened it out. And Thresh has picked up the Runic Bulwark, in addition to the standard support items. Sona's still not finishing off any real big items, other than the Lock of the Iron Solari. So I was pretty sure she was going to go with that Crucible just to make sure that Ezreal doesn't get caught out like that. As you can Quicksilver Sash or cleanse the stun on Thresh's hook. Looks like we are going to see Against All Authority looking to apply some pressure here, as Baron is about 30 seconds away from respawning. And it's still fairly close despite these gold leads. It's just been Oriana and Sona landing these absolutely perfect ultimates that have just changed these team fights around. Sindra in a little bit of trouble as Varus applies a bit more damage. Sindra on the other side of the map not able to actually push that minion wave out, as it's a fairly big minion wave and they really can't afford to not let that be taken. The entirety of Copenhagen is going to be down there, but Baron is alive and they're going to be rushing it. Ezreal able to absolutely shred it down. No way Copenhagen's going to be here in time, as it will be dead before they actually arrive. Ezreal's damage is just way too high. And with it taken down, it's going to be a very hard time for them to get away. Xin Zhao does flash forward and is able to get onto Singe. He will not get the knockup on Singe, as the Thresh Lantern is there, and the slow from Singe is just a little too strong. Ezreal does dodge the orb and not get stunned. But the problem here is, with Baron buff, I don't see any way Against All Authority is going to be able to lose this next team fight. It's just too much extra power for them, and it's a really good fight that they're going to be able to take if they get this top inhibitor. They're going to be able to force someone out of position, or they're going to be able to fight without a tower, and it looks like we are going to see Copenhagen just harassing, dealing some good damage to Xin Zhao, but he's going to be able to heal that up. Nice stun onto him as he's taken down fairly heavily. But bottom tower gone now, so Against All Authority could easily rotate down there, which I think they'll do. They'll stop in the mid lane to apply a bit of pressure to it, but it's not going to be a big deal. Though there is a large minion wave up top for Copenhagen Wolves, so it will be a while before those minions actually the super minions actually show up in base. Ezreal ultimate flies, doing a bit of damage to Varus. As we do see this bottom inhibitor taking a lot of damage. Volibear with a nice knockback on Xin Zhao, but Xin Zhao will go down, and it looks like this might be the fight that Copenhagen wanted. Renekton taking a lot of damage. Singe getting very low, but Sindra gets the shutdown. Nice ultimate by Oriana, hits too, but there's just too much damage coming out of Ezreal as he rips apart the entire team. Copenhagen, once he got into that fight, he was taken out early thanks to a nice Sindra stun and just having to play safely that deep into the enemy's base, but his damage just too much, and he really snowballed from that mid game, and being up a full item is pretty ridiculous. All inhibitors have been taken, and it looks like they are going to go for the good game, as Syndra's the only one left alive that can really help defend, unless Thresh gets a beautiful hook. And he's gotten some decent ones this game, but they've just come a little too late. And every time he gets a good hook, it seems like Oriana gets a better ultimate, as she's landed these 4 and 5 person ultimates every single time there's been a good engagement on the side of Copenhagen. Sindra has picked up that Seraph's Embrace, and I think Singe needs to pick up his as well, as he's getting way too low in these team fights, and he could definitely use the extra shield to stay alive. The only way Copenhagen's going to win this is if they can pick up a Frozen Heart on Singed and get everyone to 6 items. They have a better 6 item team, but they're nowhere close to 6 items. They're down almost 20,000 gold at this point, and there's just nothing Copenhagen can do at this point. They've basically are just too far behind. That's about it. Looks like we do have a Zephyr picked up by Ezreal, finishing off his item build at 20,000 gold. I don't think you can pick up anything else at this point outside of elixirs, and I think he'll have a full accompaniment of them. And this looks like it is going to be a good game push here by Against Authority as soon as blue buff is picked up by Oriana. And yeah, this is a death push. There are too many super minions in the base. This is good farm for Varus and crew, but it's not going to be in time. Liadri's Torment now finished up by Singed, as that means he can push these waves out decently well, as that burn does a lot of damage to super minions. And it's just a consistent burn along with the poison. But with 6 super minions coming in every single wave, they're going to be able to tank up these towers and deal a lot of damage in the upcoming fight. And it was already a pretty big loss for Copenhagen on the last few fights. Volibear trying to get in there with the home guard, but just not able to. And come on, can we get this fight? Not happening, as they do just back away. Thresh with a nice landing on Oriana, nice knockback, throws the box out, but Ezreal is left completely unchecked. Nice fling in by Singe, but not enough, as his team is actually holding. Ezreal taking a lot of damage, but with 2 down and still 4 alive, it's going to be very hard. Shut down as Ezreal gets taken out, but there are too many super minions. Varus had to stay alive in that fight if they wanted to survive, but yeah, just too many super minions. Renekton going to go down here near the end. But yeah, that is just an Ezreal snowballing and some wonderful ultimates out of Sona and Oriana that really changed several of those fights. And Copenhagen's just a little off on every single area of the game. They're half a step behind all the other teams, and that just seems to be causing them mistakes, and those mistakes snowball into losses.
Thank you for watching Games Cast by PanderNyrl. If you wish to see more, follow my YouTube and Twitch pages below.